It is Tuesday night, and that means another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. Again, I am Mike at Marrow04 on Twitter, and with me, as always, is Wes at Painted Bronco on Twitter. And it was a pretty interesting weekend last weekend, and it sets up for one hell of a finish for the final weekend as far as standings go and the final seeding going into the last weekend or into the first round of the NCHC tournament.
Yeah, I mean, really, all that we have figured out is Denver's number one, Miami's number eight. Uh, Other than that, everything is still up in the air. Western can finish as high as 2, as low as 4. Duluth, I believe, can finish as high as 5 and as low as 7, potentially. Um, so, yeah, I mean, definitely everything's up in the air outside of that first matchup and Denver taking home the Penrose Cup for the second year in a row. Still only 3
Yeah.
teams have won the Penrose.
Yeah, and we could get as low as 7, especially with Denver and Colorado College playing. I don't know how much Denver's really going to go after it since they have that 1 seed locked up. And then if UMD gets swept, there it goes, and North Dakota gets a win. It's there's a lot of different scenarios that can play out, and I think we'd have to dedicate a good chunk of time to all the scenarios, and I think that would just be its own episode in its own right. But only one can play out, right? Doesn't matter how many you go through, only one can play out.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll look at that next week when everything's figured out and everybody knows where everybody's at.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot of who knows what could happen where and when.
Exactly.
I don't see Denver taking the weekend off. I think Magnus still wants to keep that undefeated streak against Colorado College going. If nothing else, just for pride for him, that at least gives him something to play for in the back of his mind. There's not going to be, they really can't spoil anything. So not a whole lot to play for there, other than, like I said, Colorado College wanting to go into the playoffs strong and Magnus wanting to keep up that undefeated streak that he's got going against him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Uh, let's see. We can talk a little more about that later, but I think we should talk about this weekend because there were a few interesting plays in at least both of our series. Um, then I don't know. Let's get to our series last, being the last 2 series, and start it with St. Cloud and Omaha. Talk about 2 different games.
I honestly did not watch anything other than the Western games because I was at them, and Friday kind of turned me off to the rest of the week a little bit. Uh, but yeah, I mean, definitely tell 2 different games. Both scores 6-2. Miami or St. Cloud putting 6 up on Friday, Omaha putting the 6 up on Saturday. And these teams are both super close in the standings. It was that 3-4 matchup. Omaha is able to jump into second because of Denver sweeping Western Michigan, so they're actually sitting in that 2 spot with 41 points, and there's a tie for third between Western and St. Cloud.
And I think it was kind of weird seeing that 6-2 score on Friday night with St. Cloud, and then having it turned right around on them, but also not surprising. I didn't think they were going to win that big, especially with how they've been struggling, and then they came out and I didn't really watch a whole lot of it, but it was okay. This is the St. Cloud team that we thought they kind of got their mojo back, and then Saturday night you see the score come across 6-2 for Omaha, and you're like, what? Okay, maybe they don't have it. And Omaha rebounded. And Omaha, they're just having a really strong year as far as conference play, and doing as well as they are, being in second place. I I think I haven't looked at them in the last since this weekend, but I think pairwise they're still they still need to win the conference tournament to get in. I know I was watching they were talking about that on the CBS broadcast during your Friday night game and the pairwise rankings. So there's a few teams. I don't think the NCHC is going to get as many teams in the tournament just based off of pairwise uh, this year, but you never know what can happen.
I mean, there's really four. That top four in the conference has played really well all year, especially non-conference schedules. And we've said from the beginning that really the thing that hurts Omaha is just they do not play an extremely tough non-conference schedule, so they're kind of behind the eight ball, and they have to play great in the conference, but that's hard to do when teams are constantly 1 and 2. You're playing 3 top 10 teams in the national rankings and their conference opponents year in and year out. I mean, you're not doing yourself any favors by making your conference schedule count for so much when you don't take advantage of scheduling opponents during the non-conference portion.
And even so, I think it'd be a little bit of a struggle if they did happen to win the Penrose. It's still not a guarantee that they're going to get in. Um, it definitely helps a lot, but it's still with their non-conference schedule, it's not as strong of a case, and they have to win the tournament, which obviously they can't win the Penrose now, but um, they're still having a better year, and they've been a little more consistent. They just need to schedule better.
Oh, they did start Caster back-to-back games. St. Cloud did. He ended up getting pulled after
Yeah.
3 goals. Okay. I was wondering if they had switched off, but no, he started both games and got pulled in the second game. It's hard to beat anybody in this conference 2 games in a row, and we've seen that a lot. I think this is just another one of those situations where Omaha is a tough team. Like I said, we just don't see it with their non-conference schedule. But as far as conference-wise, they're constantly in that anywhere from like 2 to 6 range. I mean, it's 2 to 7 wherever, but they live in that kind of mid-range spot and play really tough conference games.
And especially at home, it's tough for any team to go in there and get a sweep. And UMD struggled there. Western has struggled there. Obviously, St. Cloud struggled there on Saturday. I don't know if it's just how the atmosphere is or what the case is, but for some reason, and by atmosphere I say kind of more of a lack of atmosphere, that it kind of brings the energy down. They're better than Miami, that's for sure, for energy.
I think Omaha's top 4 as far as atmosphere goes. I think they have their traditions. They have their fish after the first goal. They have a pretty decent student section. I mean, it's smaller. I don't know that anyone competes student section wise with what Western puts up, because Western takes up
up a whole side.
A whole side, yeah. And we have seats on all the way around. I mean, we're not a legit double stack bowl or anything like that, but there's seats all the way around the lower bowl or the bowl that is Western. A third of attendance is usually students. But from what I've seen and heard of the Omaha experience on TV or on the radio, it's in the upper half of the conference as far as student sections go. I'd probably say it's third. I think it would go Western, North Dakota, Omaha, but that's being biased as hell towards the Lunatics, which I'm gonna be, because I spent a lot of time in that student section, and I think it's one of the better atmospheres that I've been to personally in college hockey. And everyone who's been and seen a game here and seen how rowdy those dudes are says the same thing. So you're not gonna bring an away crowd in to Lawson and take over that arena. The Lunatics aren't gonna allow it. It doesn't matter if you're the number 1 team, or your brother plays for Denver and your whole family shows up. You're still going to get drowned out by the Lunatics, even in a 5-3 loss. So not an easy place to be an away fan for. But I would still say Omaha's top 3-4. They're in that 3-4 spot.
let's see. I think we could move on to North Dakota Colorado College, and that one in Colorado Springs, I mean, technically it's a sweep, um, but not as far as the points go, with North Dakota winning 2-1 in overtime on Friday, and then a shootout win when it was 0-0 after overtime on Saturday. Um, we've talked about it. Colorado College has to get some more scoring.
Yes,
They just do.
they need to be.
Because
They need to be better 5-on-5.
yes, that as well. And that counts into the more scoring. Um I mean, Emberico gives up 2 goals and then gets a shutout but loses in the shootout.
Yeah,
I don't know how much more you want your goalie to do.
I don't think there's really much more he can do. I mean, yeah,
Exactly.
he can make one more save. That's what he can do.
It's I am surprised that North Dakota came in and technically got the sweep, but I'm not surprised that it was that close.
I think more surprising is this is only North Dakota's like second all-time 0-0 game. Like tie into a shootout game. If I read the tweets right that I saw.
That would surprise that actually is that is the most surprising part of that.
Yeah, I think that's what it said. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, I mean those are two teams that right now they're fighting to see who they know they're going to be traveling. It's just a matter of where they end up going and who they end up playing. There's really no one I want to see. Like the playoffs are going to be an interesting story, and it's going to be fun to see just because of how different this season, like how clear there was a 1-4 and a 5-6 this year.
Mm-hmm.
But those records don't really matter when it's playoff time, and we could see some Sunday games in the playoffs. I honestly feel like this year.
I think we could, especially with that 4-5 matchup, no matter who ends up in that 5 spot, because St. Cloud is just not playing very well at all. And if they stay in that 4 spot, UMD can play with it. I mean, we knocked them off when they were number 1. North Dakota, they can hang with people. I don't remember what they've done with St. Cloud during their season series, and Colorado College, they played them super tough in St. Cloud. So whoever ends up the 5 seed out of those 3 teams, I think they can give St. Cloud a run, and I think it could go 3. And we could see a couple others, especially, Omaha. You never know what you're really going to get out of them. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting, and I'm happy North Dakota didn't take more points out of last weekend, because that still leaves us 1 point ahead of them, and that Colorado College only got a couple out of it, but it still doesn't make me feel comfortable them being that close.
No, and I mean, like I said, there's just such a clear division. Like last year, it was that 4 and 5 spot were so tightly contested that it took all season to figure out between St. Cloud and Duluth who was going to be the home team between those two. And St. Cloud won it in the last weekend, but Duluth comes in and sweeps the first round of the playoffs, and they end up winning the NCHC from the 5 spot. I mean, like there could be a situation like that again where we see a couple lower seeds sneak in, whether that's because top seeds are just looking past them, or everyone in this conference has just been beating up on each other all year long, that teams kind of know each other at this point. They know what teams look like and how to play them. So it's going to be a fun last weekend, and it's going to be a fun first weekend of the playoffs too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, it will be.
But here's the tweet. So UND plays its first scoreless tie in a full game in program history. From Brad Elliott Schlossman. Drew DeRitter, 26 saves. Matt Vernon, 26 saves. Clevin, the lone shootout goal, and UND unbeaten in 4 as it heads into the final week of the regular season. They have played to a 0-0 tie before in 2007, but the game was shortened to just 2 periods, and then again, or the first time was in 1968, but they did not play in overtime. So this is the first 0-0 full game tie for North Dakota.
And you think of how long that program has been around.
And it is one of the older programs for sure. But, just a little bit of history being made every day in the NCHC.
All right. I think we will move on.
I think we saved the Western Denver one till last.
Yeah, that's where I was gonna go. Because that has the most interesting talking points. Kind of I would say a little bit of a rough weekend for the Bulldogs. We did get the win on Friday, 3-2, and I
You
almost
lost to
was gonna,
Miami.
huh?
You lost to
Yeah,
Miami.
I know, but I almost was gonna shut it off and be like, oh well, yeah, it's not much of a game. We're dominating, and again, there's something about Pearson that he loves playing at Amsoil, and he can just get peppered with shots, and he keeps them in the game. And finally, I know I was talking with John about it. He goes, "What happened? Did Miami decide to come play?" And I go, "No, our goalie decided to go home." It just they were a couple bad goals after a 3-0 lead. Thankfully, we were able to hang on, and then Saturday, 4-1 loss. But I think that was
Miami has 3 wins this year in conference play. One
yes, I
over
realize
North Dakota, one over St. Cloud, and one over Duluth.
that was
And
Friday's game.
honestly, the team they played the best against all year so far has been St. Cloud. They have 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 shootout losses to St. Cloud. There's something about Miami playing in Minnesota that you can't really figure out.
They just like it here, I guess.
I mean, they do have a Frozen Four championship to their name. They're one of the 5 teams that have won the tournament there held in Minnesota every year.
That's what it was. I knew there was some it did not, I don't think it resulted in a goal. No, it did not result in a goal, but in this will kind of lead us into the next series. But Luke Lowhite did get a game misconduct on Friday night for contact to the head. I don't, from the angles that were given to us by our 1993 cameras and the camera crews at Amsoil Arena, one shot looked like it could have been, the other shot looked like it wasn't. The issue that I had with the initial call was they just chose the wrong one. The referees decided that the initial call was interference. The kid was shooting the puck. The puck is coming off of his stick as he gets hit, and the referees call interference. I'm pretty sure that's not the rule.
I don't know that you can interfere. The interference can be called on the guy shooting the puck.
Like
charging, maybe. Slashing, tripping.
You could have called
high
elbowing.
Stick, elbowing, kneeing.
Like literally any other penalty except for interference.
Yeah, I feel like interference is the one thing you cannot call on a person in possession of the puck. And goaltender interference, but the goalie doesn't necessarily have possession of the puck when he's being called for that.
No. when
Or
it's
when it's
being,
being called against the goalie, you're
yeah, yeah,
preventing him from playing his position,
right.
or
So
you've smoked him before the puck ever got to him.
so I don't I can't say for certain or not that it was contact to the head or if it went chest to head or wherever the principal point of contact was, because there wasn't a good angle for the replay on TV. What I do know though is Bruce Siski, the UMD radio play-by-play announcer, and I think he actually is the only radio announcer that we have. He's a one-man show. He definitely he's a homer, but it's college hockey. You got to be excited for your team, and he does also. He admits like, oh yeah, that was done by us as a good call, but he was the one because he was obviously at the game that tweeted out the initial call was for interference. I That's beyond me how you can call it, and I'm like, yeah, you could have called any anything else. You just chose wrong out of all the penalties in the book. You
Yeah,
chose wrong.
that's incredible. I mean, there's some issues with officiating all weekend long, but I've we're gonna get into it. It's been talked about. I think everyone's seen it on Twitter. The most egregious call of the weekend, the 5-minute major to Jason Poland as I believe as Barons. Was it Barons?
I think it was Barons, yes.
Whoever number 2 is for Denver, I believe, was trying to avoid his own teammate and ran his own face into the shoulder of Jason Poland as he's just trying to skate up ice. Ended up being a 5-minute major. There was no review for those who are wondering or saying that there was. There was no video review. The video feed apparently to the review area was not working. The referees and linesmen conferred with each other on the ice and upgraded it to a major. While the call on the ice in and of itself was stupid, and 2 goals were scored on the ensuing major power play, I'm going to take the stance that it did not actually affect the game all that much. I think if you watched that game, you would realize that Western was being outplayed by Denver for the majority of the game. And in fact, the only real life that Western had was scoring 2 goals on 4 shots in the first period of the game. I mean, take it for what you will. Was the call bad? Yes. Do I think that it really affected that much of the game? Honestly, not really. Western had minimal momentum. They weren't building on anything. It didn't change the game in favor of Denver. Denver was already doing what Denver does. Did it hurt Western's ability to make a comeback? Absolutely, because it took one of our best players off the ice. But in the grand scheme of the game, I honestly don't know that it affected all that much. But the refs do have to be better. And you can't call ill-gotten penalties like that, whether you know it is or not. And there has to be some kind of... the situation needs to be handled some way, whether it's the conference coming out and apologizing for the play and making note that, like, yes, we didn't have review, but the refs got it wrong, or the refs need to come out and say that they got it wrong. Like, something needs to happen. I don't know what that something is. I don't know if like a 5th official who's off ice and literally watches like the TV feed and gets the replays on the TV feed, because I think everybody was watching NCHC TV knew that it shouldn't have been a major penalty. The only ones who didn't know were the 4 clowns who called it a major on the ice.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe you have a 5th guy who has just the outgoing broadcast feed and can see all the replays that everyone at home sees, kind of like the XFL does.
And I mean, this was the national game. It wasn't even NCHC TV. It
was CBS.
CBS, and Starman was even he was not happy with the officials, and
he had to come out and apologize. He came out and apologized, saying he wasn't trying to one up the refs or their call because he was, going with what he thinks they saw on the ice. But either, like, he has nothing to apologize for. No, the refs blew that call. Did the call cost Western the game? I can't say that it did. And if you're trying to say, like, that's the one thing, Western Hockey Twitter, stop. Okay, we get it. The refs blew a call. The refs blow calls in every single game. It's not the reason we lost the game. It's not the reason we lost the series. I'm sorry to tell you. That's my
And
team. I'm gonna back those boys every time, but that's not the reason we lost the game.
I agree with you that Denver was the better team, and I even said it on Twitter. The arguments that I was getting into on Twitter are people saying that it was absolutely major, and I'm like, no, it's not. the The thing is, Denver was the better team. Watching that game, they just were the better team, and you don't know if there are two more power plays that they score on that are other legitimate penalty. You don't know what's going to happen in the game. It's the butterfly effect. It's okay, if this doesn't happen, how many power plays does Denver get? It's just a minute thing. Yes, they did score on 2 goals, and I think they were going to score at least one more, maybe two more. Western was going to kind of
It
have
would
to
have
get
been
a
it
little
would have been at
lucky.
least a 4-2 game. I think we would have pulled the goalie, and they still would have gotten at least the empty netter to make it 4-2 on Friday.
Yeah, the I think the biggest issue that a lot of people have, and that I have too, is
The refs overshadowed the
it
game. That's my
it took
issue.
away. Yeah, it took away from a good game, and then they make that call, and all of a sudden, that's all anybody's talking about, and it's like the energy just kind of goes up because it's like, okay, well, they blow that one. Now what else are they going to blow? And
And we saw that
uh,
this weekend because everyone thought the goal that rang off the pipe as the Western player goes into the net, everyone's like, "Oh, that was a goal," and they missed that too late. No, the puck doesn't cross the line. Sorry to tell you.
the the other one that I didn't get was the potential second major on Poland when he was skating hard to the net, had the puck, was trying to drive the net, did everything that he could to avoid the goalie. And they're like, we're going to review this. And I have seen it called because Wyatt Kaiser had the same thing happen earlier this year. I don't know where you're supposed to go.
Yeah. I mean, that one didn't
I,
get called because they couldn't review that one either, and it kind of
yeah.
saved Western because that was a little bit of someone else on Twitter said it too. Like, is Carl or what's his last name? Is it Carl Kyle? The Denver head coach, whatever, was
Oh,
trying to
yeah.
challenge for a potential major, which would have, I think, had Poland suspended for the Saturday game. Which really, you're that afraid of one player that you're gonna try and use every rule in the book to get him kicked out of a game? Come on, stop.
Who
That's
do you
not even
think it is? Bill Belichick?
yeah. That's not even showmanship. That's you trying to be a little weasel because there was a minute left and you're up fucking 5-3 or 5-2. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a dick move, especially
You're,
knowing that like the kid's a senior, it's senior night, and of all things, like you're gonna try and pull some nonsense so he can't play in his last game on home ice, just because you're somehow because he's the leading scorer in the country and you're afraid that he's gonna beat you single handedly. That's what you said to that kid.
yeah.
And honestly, if we could have, and Jason could have had a hat trick on Saturday, it would have been the greatest moment of my life. Not how it happened, but it would have been incredible if it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah. It would have been like, oh, well, yeah, see, this is why you tried to do what you did. I know why you tried to do it, and I'm going to show you why you tried to do it. I will say that was in that series, it was just not, especially that Friday game, it was not a good look for officiating or the conference as a whole because of the calls, them overshadowing the game, and then the fact that the replay doesn't work.
Yeah. And
That 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 should be in the best conference in the country. You should have that all figured out and all set up and make sure nothing goes wrong. And if something goes wrong, have a backup. And if that backup goes wrong, have a backup to the backup.
yeah, like I said, I don't
It,
know if the correct fix is maybe we go to a fifth official in the sky, like I said, the XFL uses,
mm-hmm.
and they have every feed available to them, whether it's the internal feeds for like the overhead goal cams or it's the all cameras used for the outgoing production. And it's a guy sitting there with an Xbox controller running plays back if they need it. He's the last voice, kind of like almost like an internal Toronto situation, but they're at every game. And
Oh,
they're
that's
they're just watching that game whether it's delayed or during reviews, and they're the ones playing the review on the screen, but they get all the reviews. And if the review system does go down, they're the final voice and goes, "Yep, that is a major," or "No, it's not," and you called the wrong thing.
And for anybody who stumbles across this that watches rugby in the Six Nations tournament, they have their video review, and he will be talking, and you can hear the referees, both the assistant sitting on the side watching all these plays, and the referee on the field, and hey, I want to bring this back for a possible review, and that you can hear that communication along with the commentators, so you know if they're going to review it for whatever the rule is. I don't really know all the rules of rugby. I know you got to
Yeah.
get the ball down to the other end. Well, you slam into the other team, but um, I I did want to ask, did they say, because I didn't hear it on the broadcast for the major that was called on the ice, did they actually see that it did did they say that the video review wasn't working? Because I
So
think
they say, here's what happens. They make the call. They go in to attempt to review it. There's he comes about like maybe almost immediately. Like he does not spend any time in where the reviews take place. He comes out and he says, after discussion, it has been determined it's a major penalty. He doesn't actually say that. He doesn't say the video review is down until the second attempt at the end of the game to review Jason for a second major of the game. But he says that after conversation on or discussion on the ice, it has been ruled that it's a major penalty. Is the phrasing that is used.
and that's what I remembered hearing. I just didn't know if they had cut somewhere or there was just a sound bite that was missed in the broadcast that was said in the arena.
Nope.
Now, I don't know. I think they can determine that it's a major to call on the ice, and they don't have to review it. But
Well, they say
in this case,
they said they were gonna review it. They do say
okay,
they're
so
gonna review it. Yeah. And even if they hadn't, they had to at least tell, I'm sure they had to go and tell Frischweiler, we can't look at it. The video is down. It's going to be a major. We're sticking with our call. Because otherwise he would challenge it whether or not he had been successful on a previous challenge or not. I think he'd used this timeout by this point. So he would have potentially taken a minor penalty for delay of game if it had been ruled to stand using the video, which it wouldn't have because it shouldn't even have been a penalty. The kid ran into Poland on his own.
right.
So it was a stupid call. It was, again, not a call that I think really affected the outcome of the game all that much. I think Denver was winning that game anyway. But for the look of the conference, for the look of those officials, you look stupid. You look like you don't know what you're doing out there. And it's not the first time and it's not going to be the last time, but you overshadowed a game between two of the top teams in the country that everyone was looking forward to. And we're not even talking about the game. We're talking about the one call. That is all that matters from Friday night's game. But the other point I want to make is Saturday it was determined that there were some illness going through the Western team. Whether or not that affected or how much that affected their play, I guess we'll never know. But if it affected their play at all, Western's got to get healthy to make a run because the team that showed up Friday and Saturday is not a team that's ready to win a national title.
No.
Both nights they had a lead over Denver. Both nights they failed to capitalize on opportunities. I mean, and the other people who are saying that Western was screwed by the refs the entire weekend, bro, we had 2 5-on-3s. We had a 5-on-3 in the middle of a major penalty and couldn't do anything with it. That's not on the refs. The refs gave us the opportunities. They called the penalties. We didn't work. We didn't do what we needed to do to beat Corona. We scored 1 power play goal Saturday night, 5-on-4. We had plenty of opportunity.
You score 3 goals in the whole weekend and give up 8.
There's a lack of execution.
Yeah, and you just got to score more than 3 goals in a weekend if you want to expect to win at least one of the games, if not both.
I mean,
especially to win both.
You don't even really necessarily need to score. I mean, we held Denver to 2 goals on Saturday. It was an empty net goal, made it 3-1. But We had 2 5-on-3 opportunities in that game. We capitalized on either of those, and it's a different game. We had a lead in both of those games, and we couldn't finish it. We couldn't compete. Denver controlled the puck. Denver was winning battles in the neutral zone. They were keeping us tied in. They were making changes in the offensive zone, and Western couldn't do anything about it. We couldn't clear the puck out of the zone. We couldn't dump the puck in deep. There was nothing Western could do, and we did not look like a team ready to compete against the top teams in the country. And here's another fact for you. Someone else pulled this up. We have 1 win on a top 5 opponent this year. We played 6 games against top 5 opponents. We have 1 win, and it's the win against St. Cloud. Last year, we had numerous top 5 wins. We split with Michigan when Michigan was a top 5 team. We split with St. Cloud when St. Cloud was a top 5 team, or I think where we swept St. Cloud. We either split with you guys or swept you guys when you guys were a top 5 team.
I think you swept us there because we were a top 5 team at that point.
Let me bring it up and look because I want to make sure I get it right. But everyone's saying that this year's team is better than last year's team. That's really kind of hard to say when you're looking at just the schedule. Like, yes, offensively, this year's team is scoring more goals than last year's team did. But again, let's see. Top 15 opponents. We split with Notre Dame this year when they were 12 and 13th. We were swept by Michigan when Michigan was number 4. We split with St. Cloud when they were number 4, giving us our only top 5 win. We beat Michigan Tech when Michigan Tech was ranked slightly above us. We were swept by Denver as Denver's number 3. We were swept by Nebraska when I think Nebraska was like barely ranked, if at all. We've struggled against good opponents this year. We've won the games we were supposed to win, which you want to do. And here's last year. Ferris, nope. Split with number 1 Michigan. We actually beat them in their building 5-2, lost in our own building 2-3. So there's a split. Split with Duluth when Duluth was 4 and 3 respectively in the rankings. A 4-3 win and a 0-3 loss. We were swept by Denver in Denver when Denver was on that incredible run, but they were ranked 14th in the country. We swept number 2 St. Cloud State. We split with number 14 Nebraska. Swept number 10 North Dakota. Split with number 7 Minnesota Duluth. Split with number 3 Denver when Denver came to Lawson last year. Swept by number 7 North Dakota. Like, that's a team that had a legit opportunity because they were winning games that mattered. They were beating top-ranked opponents. This year, not so much.
Yeah, I was trying to count, and roughly, I think like 9 and 11, I think is what the record was. I was counting on fingers, and
Yeah.
I only have 5 fingers on each hand. But yeah, roughly 9 and 11, and against maybe you're almost 500 against opponents that are ranked in the top 15. I mean, would you like to be above?
And they won. And they won a first round matchup in the NCAA tournament. And they won a first round matchup in the they swept the first round and won the semifinal of the NCHC tournament. I mean, those were good wins. That team was winning big games. This team has struggled to do so. And guess what? Every game here on out is a big game.
And that's why
you can afford one more loss in 2 weeks. If you lose more than 1 game after next weekend, you're done. You're going home. You have to bring your best game every game from here on out.
And that's where I do think it's gonna get interesting, especially come the playoffs, because what do we have?
And if you're
Omaha should have moved up.
Omaha's in second right now.
No, I know in the conference
the rankings.
Yeah.
Or in the pairwise, whatever it is.
Oops.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. We need to get that. And we were without our top line center, but the team still played pretty good. Poland had a goal. And he's still doing what he's doing. He's leading the country with 27 goals. But we've got to play better defense. I mean, Cam Rowe really played good enough to win one, if not both of those games. He's been playing incredible the second half of the season.
Yeah, he was playing well, and like, let's see, right now, so in the top 20, Denver's third, St. Cloud is sixth, Western is
It's eighth
eighth.
by the USHO.
Yeah, and then Omaha's 14th.
In the pairwise.
And then North Dakota received votes. Then you have us and Colorado College and Miami, which I'm not upset that we didn't receive votes. You lose to Miami. That's not helpful.
Let's see. In the pairwise, Omaha is currently on the bubble at 16.
So if they make a run,
they have to win the tournament. Because you're going to get someone from Hockey East or the AIC. Not AIC. AIC is one of the schools. But Hockey
ECAC.
East or the Atlantic, or one of those teams that's not currently potentially ranked. They could come in, steal that tournament, and then they kick out whoever's 15 or 16.
This is true.
Maybe
like in Northeastern, who's 17 could make a run, or even, where are they?
North Dakota. Say North Dakota wins the NCHC tournament, they could potentially be kicking Omaha out by winning the tournament, because they're sitting at 21st in the ranking, or in the pairwise, and Omaha is on that 16 bubble.
Or like a Boston College or Providence.
Yeah. I mean, you really want to be in that, top 10, top 12 to really feel comfortable in the pairwise.
And look at Alaska sitting at 12.
Alaska could steal an at-large bid, being an independent in their first year back in college hockey.
I think that'd be good for them. That would be cool to see them in the tournament.
So I mean, there's still a lot up in the air. I mean, I think their seasons, I don't know that they have any more games to play to really kind of make a push. So they're relying on kind of the teams with at-large bids losing in the tournament, or the teams with the highest ranking winning their conference tournaments too, so they can stay in there.
Yeah, and even as far as the pairwise goes, UMD they have to win to get in. They have to win the tournament to get in.
North Dakota does. I think Omaha might have to. Omaha might be able to sneak in, but I think really their best bet is hoping they can win the conference tournament.
And I think it would just be. I think it's good for college hockey overall to get some of these other schools in there. Do I like it because UMD is not going to be in there? More than likely. Not as much, but I don't know. You'd have to go back. That'd be since 2017, because I'm guessing North Dakota was in the tournament in 2017, but UMD and North Dakota not in the tournament at the same time. I think it'd be 2017 when Denver won it. I don't know if we made it in the 2016 tournament when North Dakota won it. At least I think I'm getting my. Yep, North Dakota won it. Let's see.
Couldn't tell you. And I don't feel like looking it up right now. While you're looking that up, I will do the players of the week. Couple Denver guys, Carter Mazer and Mike Benning, are forward and defenseman of the week. Rookie is St. Cloud State's Adam Ingram. We have two goaltenders. That being Drew Ritter for North Dakota and Ludwig Pearson for Miami. Those are your players of the week. They also put out the players of the month for February. Player Mike Benning from Denver. Rookie Jackson Blake from North Dakota. And goaltender Ludwig Pearson. Miami did have a decent February, while the standings may not necessarily show it. Unfortunately for them, they did not accumulate a lot of wins, but they did get their point total up. And they did play some decent games. And hell, even Miami could potentially knock Omaha out of the tournament if Miami
They definitely
wins
could.
the NCHC tournament from the 8th seed. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying it could happen.
It could happen.
And it would be hilarious if it did.
So the last time that both UMD and North Dakota were not in the tournament was 2014. So since 2015, Minnesota Duluth and North Dakota have both been in the tournament. North Dakota was in the tournament in 2014, but that's still a long stretch run, and then to get this change in there, I'm happy anytime North Dakota doesn't make it. So I really hope they don't.
Yeah. I mean,
But it's gonna make it fun, especially when it comes down to who gets those at-large bids. We usually have a pretty good idea, but it depends on the conference champions and whoever, and then who's going to end up where.
Yeah.
So the next couple weeks are going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to try. I really hope I get to watch UMD play at the X, but I'm still thinking I'm going to try and go watch that championship game on that Saturday, whatever day it is. I know it's in March.
17th and 18th? Yeah.
17th and 18th. Yep. I will attempt to go on Saturday.
That is my last weekend of paternity leave.
Fun.
Yeah. So on to this week. It is rivalry week. That means everybody's playing their historical rival, or at least closest geographical rival. Western looks to continue its dominance over Miami in the last couple years. I believe they're at either 6 or 8 straight wins over the Red Hawks. Miami is a team that has been struggling all year. While they did pick up some points in the standings in February, they still did not pick up very many wins. I think the win over Duluth might have been the only win they had in February.
But hey, they got into double digits.
Yeah. I believe Western will still be without Jamie Rome and potentially Carter Berger. It's hard to get updates on those guys. If I'm Miami, I look for Western to want to come out and show that they are the Western team that we think they are. But again, how much does this series really say about the Western team? Yeah, cool. You beat up a team who's been struggling all year. Do I want to see it? Yes, I do. I do. Jason Poland picked up a hat trick in each of the games earlier this season in Kalamazoo for his first and second of the season. He is 3 goals away from having 30 goals in the regular season. Could it happen in Miami? Possible. Very possible. As long as everybody who was sick Saturday is feeling better and can get it going there. This should be... Western should be able to walk away with 6 points and get themselves in a good spot to lock down second place in the NCHC standings and face, anyone from Colorado College to North Dakota or even Duluth. But I think they have the best chance to secure second place of the teams involved in that second place scrum.
I wouldn't disagree with that. They're put in the best position to secure the second spot in the standings. Um, yeah, then I guess just going off start time like we usually do, Omaha at North Dakota. And
North Dakota's playing a little bit better than they
they
have.
are playing a little bit better. I
It's
think
in
they're
it's in North Dakota, which we know is a tough place to play. Omaha's been playing pretty good. I think it's depending on what team we see of North Dakota, they're more than capable of at least getting the split.
yes, they are. And I'm trying to look to see what did they play this year already?
I believe they did. They may not have. Yeah, they had to have because they always play each other twice, so it would be near the beginning of the year.
Where
They always play that series twice a year. That is their.
there it is. So North Dakota won the first game 4-1, and then it was 3-3, and Omaha won it in the shootout 2-1. So this is shaping up to, and that was back in November. So this might be a little tighter game than some people might think looking at the standings, just based off of prior history. And then, they're not necessarily rivals as we've talked about, but they're kind of the two odd teams out as far as who's left to play each other. But with it being closer and Omaha technically being better than North Dakota this year as far as standings and everything goes, this could pick up a little more intensity. And I don't think those Fighting Hawks fans are gonna really want to end the year on a loss. And the guys won't either, because this is going to be their last series at home
Yeah, they're
for
definitely
the
going to be
year.
on the road, and I mean, if potentially, if North Dakota sweeps this, they could get to fifth place and could potentially get Omaha in the first round of the playoffs too.
That they could. It's another one of those potential.
This last weekend is going to be real interesting for the way everything shakes out into the final standings for playoff games.
Especially Saturday. I mean, Friday and Saturday, but Saturday especially, depending on what happens on Friday.
And then Minnesota Duluth visits St. Cloud.
This is, I mean,
it's not the matchup that we saw last year, but these two teams always play each other extremely well.
It literally and figuratively is a dogfight.
Yeah. If nothing else, Minnesota wants to hang on to that fifth spot. They could potentially be setting up another situation where they face St. Cloud again next week and hope to do what they did last year, but you'd have to win 4 straight games against St. Cloud, which they did not do last year, but they did play them in back-to-back series and punch their ticket to St. Paul through the Huskies. So
and the toughest thing about that would be is winning 6 games, going 6-0 against a team in one single season, because we did sweep them as the number 1 team in the nation up in Duluth.
That is true.
And then we'd
But
have to win 2 here or 2 in St. Cloud, and then
you have to win 6.
2 more
You don't have to go 6-0. You can go 6-1.
we can go 6-1, but I like it way better when it's 6-0 because then I don't have to stress out on Sunday.
Well, that's true. But I mean, there could be a series Duluth gets up for, and I forgot that you guys swept them when they were the number 1 team in the country. So, and that's a situation that's going to be really good to watch. And then the final one, Denver versus Colorado College. We already mentioned, not much. That is a home and home series. Denver is the home team Friday. Colorado College the home team Saturday. Looks like the Friday game at Denver will be on CBS Sports, which would make Denver's, I believe, 3rd appearance this season.
We said last week,
and their 2nd hosting it. But again, defending national champions, defending Penrose champions. No Penrose champion has ever also claimed the Frozen Four or the Frozen Face-Off championship. So let's keep that going for sure.
Yes.
Suck it, Denver. The University of Denver. That's right. The University of Denver. Not Denver University, which you could say is DU. They're the University of Denver. You private school schmucks.
How you said Denver University just reminded me of Key and Peele in the East West Bowl.
They are the University of Denver. That would be like North Dakota being NDU. No, they're UND because they are the University of North Dakota. You know why the U is at the end of Western or of WMU? Because it's fucking Western Michigan University. You're the University of Denver. I will not call you DU. It's stupid. You're stupid. And not just because you beat my team, but because you're stupid. Your logo is stupid. It's confusing. It's not your actual school name. It's like the circle W is stupid. I'm glad we don't use it. Anyway.
You good?
Never.
Do you have it all out?
No.
All out of your system now?
No. Because, I have anger for freaking Western fans, too. Stop blaming the refs. We didn't play well. It was not all the refs' fault. Yes, they made a bad call. Yes, they should be not harassed, but they should be notified that their call was terrible.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't harass them. Just reprimand not the fans, the league. Reprimand them. Let them know that what they did was wrong.
But they did not actually affect the game.
Yes, just fix it to make better officiating so you go unnoticed in the games and don't overshadow the games or the kids.
And hey, if you're a ref, the game's not about you, okay? If you didn't actually see the play on the ice, keep your hand down, keep your whistle on your fingers, and don't put it in your mouth.
Okay? Unless you're Shorzy, then the game's all about you.
The game is not about you. You shouldn't be a headline. Your job is to keep the players safe and keep the game going, and you did none of that in that play. None of it. So, some lighthearted fun. We'll talk about the first round of the playoffs next week as we'll get a clearer picture of what's going to happen there. We will look at the tournament, both tournaments, the NCHC tournament and the big NCAA tournament, as those pictures both become more clear. We'll probably do another bracket like we did last year, break that down, and make our uneducated picks. Because all we really care about here is the NCHC. And at the end of the day, we'll hope that no matter who makes it, that an NCHC team comes out on top. In Tampa this year, I would prefer it not be Denver, if we're being honest. I would prefer it not be the University of Denver.
If it is, it is. But we would prefer that they don't go back-to-back.
I would very much prefer that the University of Denver does not go back-to-back as champions. But they are a team that is built to do so. They are a very good team, arguably the best team in the country.
Mm-hmm. We can hate it as much as we want to, but we won't deny that they are a very good team, and we will respect that out of them.
I respect their play. I do not respect their logo or its confusion of how their name is actually said.
And a little bit their coach now because of the attempted challenge.
And their coach is kind of a schmuck. But he is a championship winning coach. So there is that. I think that'll do it. I'm just going to get more angry and more bitter. Like an open beer in the middle of summer. Just bitter, 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 and skunkier as I sit out. So we're going to call it there. Until the next episode. Pucks on net. Good things happen. Like Go Horns and Fight Songs. We will see you later. Bye-bye.